Okay, good evening, friends. I can see by the wiggling happening below me that apparently my microphone is working and the little red dots there, which means I'm recording. So anyways, friends, today's big topic is actually going to have to deal with censorship and moderation, because I've gotten a few messages from a few different people over the last few days that a while ago, like our old problem with the Tim Kirby hardcore universe. So today we're going to talk a lot about like the philosophy behind how you manage social media networks, how we can find freedom, build a comfortable environment, and all that. So this is going to be more global. This isn't going to be some sort of ego fest where I just talk about specifically my channels and stuff that I'm up to. So this is going to be a broader discussion on that topic, but we're also going to get into the specifics of how I think we can manage people going forward in the future and make everybody, or at least most people, happy, or enough people happy. Because you can't make all the people happy all the time, right? Some Lincoln said something like that. I don't know, whatever. So that's our main topic. And then topic number 2 is probably going to be some American Village random questions and stuff. So as soon as we get to sort of part 2 of this thing, you can ask as many questions as you want. You can use the raise your hand feature, or you can write questions. You know, you go to the Tim Kirby Russia hardcore channel, just write anything under that little picture that says Telegram live stream starts in 30 minutes. And guess what? I'll see it. Okay. Well, anyways, we're going to talk about, the sort of censorship moderation necessity, because there seems to be some sort of crisis going on. Previously, a real big problem were the Dan Scavino bots, and I'd like to thank a certain man who goes by the nickname, especially Abibus, not just Abibus, but also Chris, and basically everyone in the pipeline, because you guys did a really good job of dealing with this. But I do know Abibus was the one, or Abibas, the more Russian way to say it, I guess, Abibas, was the one who set up the Rose bot, which sort of forces entities that want to comment to click on a button. And thankfully, for the most part, most of the bot accounts are not capable of doing that. So in the past, we were haunted by the specter of one of Trump's like PR people. Well, it wasn't actually him. It was some people using his name. But regardless, the name Dan Scavino was a plague on this channel. And it's unfortunate it wasn't really him, because I'd actually kind of like to interview Dan Scavino, but I kind of tried to get a hold of him, and that didn't go very well. Ironically, a person who is like a PR overlord doesn't really want any contact with the public. What can you say? I guess he likes to project messages, not get weirdos writing him. So who knows? But anyways, so that was our first problem, were these bots, these endless stream of bots. And because not only did they maybe say things that were sometimes a little weird, but just a lot. Like your Dan Scavino bot, it wouldn't just comment under one post per day. It would comment under 20 posts in a row. Like the last 20 posts of your chat or your channel there, it would leave a message there. So we dealt with that because there was a robot solution to it that's working, at least for now, until these spammers come up with the next level technology to defeat the protective Rose bot. So anyways, that was phase number 1. Phase number 2 is people are now writing me, and they're telling me, this is the harder one because this is the human element, not the robotic element, that apparently a lot of people's feelings are getting hurt. And it's like, I'll put it this way. I'm going to read an anonymous message that's going to remain anonymous if I can find it. Hold on. Let's see. Where'd it go from? Yes, so here it was. This is the chat from a person who I do actually very much so respect. So this is, again, it's not a dig on this person. We are not going to diss on this person because there's no reason to, because he's an awesome guy. Although I did just reveal the fact he is a man. So there you go. One piece of information. So your chat is getting very anti-Semitic, anti-Christian, anti-Catholic today. Very little respect there. And he says something, I know you have lost 2 families that applied for the American Village as a result today. Quite honestly, I'm thinking of leaving the channel. You have 2 troublemakers there today. Okay, well, afterwards, this person kind of changed their mind about that. Thank you very much for calming down. But that message was sort of nice and short, but it was the quintessential message that I've gotten from people over the last few days. And here kind of comes some of the problems with this. But let's go back to the greater philosophy of what the hell we're doing here. Supposedly, people tell me that they want to move to Russia because they like Russia because it has possibly more freedom, especially more religious freedom, where all this sort of multi-gendered nonsense is more or less not allowed. And in a lot of ways, people come here and they're like, holy crap, I started this blog and no one cares what I say, and I have all this latitude with what I do, and it's amazing, this, that, and the other. In Russia, we have a pretty fat Overton window, and it's nice. I think one of our grand overall problems is people ask, sort of, they look at countries whether they're free or not, as if there's a light switch. So you're either on mode freedom country or not free country. Whereas I think that freedom is sort of like an amount of something, but much like the amount of alcohol in a particular drink, sometimes you get to a limit. There's a reason why vodka is usually 40% alcohol, because after you get over that, you just kind of just poison yourself and it tastes disgusting. So there's a reason why things are the way they are. And I really think that we need to start gauging freedom in terms of this, like what countries and what places have more or less freedom based on the way that we see things. Because remember, one idea that is actually a Tim Kirby original idea is the definition that freedom is being in a condition where you're in agreement with the greater society around you. That's actually the way freedom works. But if we're to include the concepts of maybe sometimes hearing some things that we don't really like, I think it's better to have a fatter Overton window rather than a narrower one. I think that's kind of better for society. So you could say that I'm sort of a free speech advocate, but someone who doesn't see free speech as either there's freedom or there's not, but how much is there and how much might actually be too much. And that's kind of where we get to our chat here, because combining the chat and Russia, because if you guys want to move to Russia, you also have to get used to, you kind of move to a more masculine-minded dominant, no matter what people say. I know there's that meme. They try to say that Russia is secretly controlled by the Babush. Goes, no. You're dealing with a more masculine environment, and you're dealing with an environment that is much more, let's just say, freedom of speech than you might be used to. And what happens when you have a lot more freedom of speech? You have crazy stuff on the internet that might come off as anti-Semitic and anti-Catholic and anti-everybody, and maybe a bit more aggressive. Another thing, just to sort of our overall concept here, is one of the reasons why things are the way they are in the West is because we've sort of shifted away from the masculine as being more the dominant for society to being the feminine. And men and women have a very different communication form. And again, if you're going to live in Russia, which has a more masculine communication form, that means people are going to argue with you. Men tend to want to butt heads over stuff. Men don't really see competing as stressful or decision-making as being stressful. Arguing over positions is definitely not stressful for men. But when you sort of get to the way that women communicate, even online, women tend to kind of prefer things to be a little bit more comfortable. They like a little bit more agreement. Also, with women's communication, there's a lot more importance, the sort of like communicating feelings and all that. And when you talk to men online, especially about politics, there might be the feeling, but the feeling is punch. It's a different way of communicating. In some ways, it's kind of hard to explain. But when we're in a more masculine form of communication, this sort of ideological fighting and sort of like Socratic dialogue, like taking pot shots at each other, is kind of normal throughout human history. You know what I mean? And that's kind of another thing. So again, if people supposedly are now, because a couple people who I may not even know personally said nasty things on my chat, I guess, about Catholics and Jews, they're not going to move to Russia. Well, the thing is, guys, if that actually happened to two of you guys, I'd really like you, these two people, or two groups of people potentially, if they're families, to really sit down and think about, like, do you then really believe in freedom of speech and having a nice fat Overton window where you can talk about a lot of things? Because if the Overton window's fat, you're going to hear a lot of stuff that you don't like. And that's another thing about masculine communication. If you're going to ask your parents for the cold, hard truth, for advice that might, be more real, you almost always go to dad. Because with men, men are more looking for the truth, whether it's ugly or not. And generally, when women kind of talk to each other about advice, it's like, sure, Susie, you might be 50 pounds overweight, but you just haven't met the right guy yet. There's a lot of the feels dominate over the getting results, whereas with men, the getting results, there is no feels. It's just getting results or pushing an agenda. So, again, that's a little bit more on the gender side. But anyways, with these two people who may have quit like the American Village over something that has nothing to do with me, kind of connected to the fact that I would prefer to have more freedom of speech than not, then, I don't know, maybe it's destiny, because you're going to have a real hard time in Russia. Because if you start living in a society where people do feel free to say a lot of what they think, and again, in more society with a little bit more of a masculine way of speaking where people are more direct about what they think, then life is going to be hard. Life is going to be hard for you. I can tell you that much. So anyways, about this, a couple people here, I have a copied message, but I don't want to reveal who this is, but I think someone demanded that I make an apology. Let's see. I feel dirty and a bit nauseated after reading all the posts on what has been, until the past day or so, my favorite Telegram channel. Well, thank you for being with us. I appreciate that. You know what I'm talking about. If you're writing to me, I don't. And I will tell you, this is a fact. Vladimir Putin does not have an anti-Semitic bone in his body. Some of you folks here, on the other hand, you're not doing him or Russia any credit by spouting bigotry. Well, we can say that the five core traditional religions of Russia, it's Eastern Orthodox Christianity. That would be Islam, especially the sort of Sufi hippie Islam. Then we're going to get into your Buddhism and your shamanism, and Judaism is on the charts. Okay, so there have been people of Jewish ancestry, like we talked about the Khazar conspiracy with codename Afanasi, who has kind of vanished off the planet. I'm actually kind of nervous. I don't know what happened to him. He's not responding to calls or messages. Either I said something to make him really angry, or codename Afanasi might not be with us anymore. I'll try to find out more on that later. I've been trying to find out. But anyways, but he mentions that even during like the pre-Russian, early Kievan Rus, proto-Kievan Rus, sort of Ukraine, Russia territory zone, there were Jews. So, sorry, you're going to have to deal with it to an extent. But yeah, so I kind of agree with this person on that one point. But anyways, I'm sad the channel has meant so very much for me for months has suddenly turned so ugly. I have no idea where the moderators are. And again, you can kind of tell by the way that this person is writing, this is a very female perspective of it's like, I don't like something, someone come help me and save me. And this is in a lot of ways where we get censorship from, because I understand that everyone in their American hearts, which I have, they sit down and they think, man, this big tech, there's so much censorship. It's so awful. It's Facebook, and they block everything except for Greta Thunberg, and it's terrible, and we can't talk about our conservative values and this, that, and the other. Well, again, this is kind of one of those things of the price of freedom. You give people rope. Some people might hang themselves on this sort of racial stuff. I'm sorry, but that's kind of the way it is. I can also tell you one thing, too, about this particular issue that this person referred to as anti-Semitism. One thing that I did notice was when I very, very first started to work at RT, and I was a nobody. I was kind of almost there on I was there like a test period for 6 months. I can't believe they considered that test a success. But anyways, I got through it, and I was able to get the job. And but during that time, I had to do a lot of like moderation of the site. And they really, at the time, the website had its own sort of comment system, but it was very weak, like zero, for the most part, almost zero defense. And so literally you are going down, and I know YouTube doesn't like this word, so you know what I'm talking about. You just read it doesn't matter. It could be an article about the price of oil fluctuated by 10% today. This could have ramifications across the globe. Juice, 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 juice. Everything. And what happened, regardless of whether someone liked the article or whether someone agreed with that opinion about who's, I guess, at fault for oil becoming 10% more expensive. It created this sort of, and also certain ethnic religious groups, especially who have a cult of Zionism, might deserve a little bit of criticism from time and again. Maybe more than a little. In fact, I was just talking to someone who actually was filming some of what we could call the horrors of the regime in Tel Aviv, and he agreed to the interview and has kind of vanished. I really want to get him on here because he has a lot to say about what it's like to work for major Western news and get completely censored. So that's kind of a downer that I can't get a hold of him. That'd be really cool. Anyways, going back to that, is when I was sort of doing that little bit of moderating for RT on the site and reading through the messages, what happens, regardless of what you think, you sort of subconsciously associate the site. And again, this is because of the people commenting, not because of what was written on the site. Don't conflate things. Because of this commenting group, you conflate those comments sort of with the site, and then to an extent, you sort of conflate the site with yourself. And in a way, it's kind of a turnoff. It's kind of a turnoff. So this person who wrote here that they loved my channel up until, I guess, 2 days ago or whatever, that's kind of how I felt with the RT site at the time, because it just created this bad mood. But then what do you have to do? Well, you could have no commenting. I'm not really sure if that's the way to go, because especially as we now know, what happens if you say release a YouTube video and there's no comments under it? It means you're a coward. That's really what it means. It means you're too cowardly to deal with the heat or the criticism or this, that, or the other. So I don't think that that's an option. I do think, I guess I could check right now. I don't think RT allows any commenting under their what's it's called? Their articles. Let's see. Is there any comment section? Oh, there is. Oh, okay. Oh my God. I thought they got rid of it. No, they have. Well, I don't know. Some of these do actually. I guess RT just doesn't care anymore because some of these do have a kind of bot flavor about some of their posts, because it's like the evil of the American empire, the evil of this, sort of generic things that you can say about anything. The bot sort of looks and sees basically what the article's about, and it's just like, the State Department was mentioned. Time to say the American empire's evil, says the bot. But anyways, it doesn't look too toxic. So I guess we should all applaud RT for doing a very, very good job and allowing comments without seeming toxicity. So that's nice. That's good. That's better than I'm doing. So one thing you can do is get rid of your comments. Now, the one thing that I think we might have to do is it's going to be twofold. Telegram has a mechanism where they kind of only let you comment maybe once a minute or once every period of time. I think as soon as I actually upload this live stream to YouTube from that point, I think that's going to be the first one. But overall, I think my grand strategy that I think would apply to a lot of things is, have you ever heard the expression that a person has said their piece? As essentially, sometimes people have stuff to say, maybe it's ugly, and they got it out, and then it's over. It's kind of like in some movie, I don't know, grandpa, kicks the bucket, he dies, and then the two different sons who hate each other goes to the funeral, and the one's like, Jimmy, you destroyed the family business, and now it's time for me to lay it straight. Your father never loved you, or something like that, something like crazy and dramatic, and these people have said their piece. They've sort of let it out. And so I think we're going to have some rule where with the people who do moderate and participate in the chat, because one thing you guys might not know, I don't really like to read the chat. I kind of like it. I want you guys to be able to enjoy it. I don't really read it a lot unless people sort of tag me, or as I'm sort of going about my business, on the telephone, you get all these notifications. And if I see something that's kind of interesting in the notifications, but generally I don't really read it, okay? I may be pretty egotistical to have my own Telegram channel and basically career revolving around my own name, but I'm not egotistical enough to read comments about me. That's one thing that I don't do. So like, today, I think I turned on the phone and I didn't look at the comments yesterday. It was like 459 comments. I am not going to read through all that, guys. So first off, I'm not reading through them unless I see my name somewhere, or I see something that's juicy in my notifications, like the most recent comment looks very enticing. So that's not, or if someone is like, Tim, you got to check this out. This person said that this crazy stuff that Ho Chi Minh was actually an alien or something really funny. But other than that, I don't really look at it. But I think the real thing that would be a good way, and I think that maybe a lot of social media platforms in general could do, is a sort of you've said your piece policy. So from now on, I think everyone on a particular topic, you get to sort of throw out, you get to say your piece, you get to throw out what you want to say, even if it's slightly hateful. People get the response, and in true debate format, you get to respond to the response, and that's it. I'm also going to put down that thing where it's going to make it so you can only comment once every minute, the timer, and if things still stay bad, we'll have to change it to 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Because I think the real problem is that when people online kind of argue, is they tend to sort of dig this hole, whereas someone might say, like, you sort of start with, it's actually the evil reptilioids that are actually behind everything. No, it's not. You don't know anything. It's actually the Spanish Inquisition. And then they sort of start going down this hole where people start arguing with each other, and the anger increases and the toxicity increases. I think that it's a lot easier to deal with things that are on the edge of the Overton window that we don't like if maybe you only sort of get one shot to say it. Like, you've got 500 words or however much, I don't know what the maximum message size is. It might actually be like 10,000 characters or something. But basically, you got 10,000 characters, drop the bomb. After that, let it go. You said your piece, it's over. So from this point on the Tim Kirby channel, from the point when I actually upload this to YouTube, so from that point on, because I have to wake up tomorrow really early and I don't want to fiddle around with the stuff, from that point on, I'm going to ask all the mods to have this, the two rules, where first off, we're going to make, well, it's easy for me to modify the chat to make it so you can only post one post per minute. And like I said, if things remain where people are just fighting with each other, because again, fighting isn't productive. Again, why this logic of you've said your piece? Because these fights, they just go in circles and no one convinces each other. Like if you know someone and they are absolutely convinced that of any particular very simple solution to history, okay, where there's this group of people is the bad people, they're behind everything, and they have to be destroyed. If you can't out-argue that. It's this person has really built the framework of their view of reality around this sort of fundamental principle, and there's nothing that you're going to do to argue them out of them. Say you're either a religious person or an anti-religious person. You meet someone of the exact opposite persuasion, throwing like insults at each other, throwing Bible quotes as proof of something, or as disproof of something, or statements from the Quran that are both proof of something or disproof of something, depending on your opinion. You're not going to win the other guy over. You're just not. But, you said your piece. You got the chance to exercise some freedom there, and that's it. So I think we're going to have to go back to some sort of more gentlemanly times when men would politely, write their grievances with someone else in a quite nicely written official format and send it away to await possibly some sort of retort in the future. So I think we have to return to that sort of logic. And so first off, as of very soon, we'll fix the amount of time it takes for you to post your second message, and then we'll get into this you've said your piece way of doing moderation, which I think is a very good way to maintain the ability for people to have the fat Overton window that you came from Russia from without toxic fighting environment. Okay, that's, I think, probably the best that I can do. So hopefully that'll make everyone happy, and I really think that kind of logic could apply to a lot more than just this chat. Now, we're going to go over to phase 2 of things. I'm going to look at some of the comments here. No one has their hand raised. And since we're in phase 2 of tonight's wonderful live stream, that means that you guys can ask questions, and they can be related to anything. I don't care. They can even be partially insulting, because I really, really don't get bothered by that kind of stuff. So, anyways, someone just wrote me that they can't seem to hear me. I think everyone can hear me. I can see my microphone wiggling down there. I think that problem must be on your side. I'm sorry, my friend, but I think other people can hear me. So anyways, let's see. In the chat, I should maybe do this. If you comment in the chat, great. How do I get on here? Well, I'm sorry if you're already not hearing me, you're already on here, but you can't hear me. You have to deal with that. So anyways, no questions. That is a rarity. Usually there's some written questions or, who knows, maybe even some insults. Yeah, and sure, I can even see someone who I briefly looked over, and boy, they have written a lot of long retorts. Whoever's Cananus? Cananus, probably Cananus. Cananas? I don't know how to say it. Whatever Cananas, you're going to be one of those people where you have to obey this said your piece rule, because a lot of messages from this guy or gal. Anyways, unresearched and uneducated, thanks, bye. All right, well. Okay, I don't know. Well, I can see people are very salty here. Wow. Anyways, yeah. So, anyways, that's part of life. People sometimes argue. So, anyways, let's see. Do we have anyone who wants to talk, or am I going to talk a little bit about the American Village? Wait, if I saw something, no. Okay, that's okay. Anyways, so about the American Village. Our buddy, migration lawyer Timur, mentioned it at the St. Petersburg Economic Forum, and apparently everyone was listening. So already Vice News and Newsweek have gotten excited about the Village, but guess who's not going to give them an interview? Because I've already been bitten by the mainstream Western media twice. Twice bitten, twice shy. You know. So I think that all they would do is try to demonize this and attract negative attention to this project. So we're not going to be talking to any of them. But what's going to happen tomorrow, and I have to wake up early for, is, of course, a punishment, because I hate the morning, is that we are going to go, and hopefully everyone shows up, because it's one of those meetings where every person has to show up, and if one doesn't, there's no point in doing it. But the meeting about how we're going to work out the actual nuts and bolts of how we are going to sort of take control of the land, how we're going to actually get this complete roadmap done and really work out the specifics of taking control of the land and actually getting going. So that's a big meeting tomorrow, but it's a bureaucratic meeting, and it's also kind of a shame that one person who's a lot better at bureaucracy than I am is not going to be there tomorrow. But what could I do? I had to wait for certain people on the other side who said that they can only do it on Friday. Doing anything around any sort of holiday period in Russia is rough, so I should consider myself lucky that we're actually doing this tomorrow rather than in another week or something. So anyways, that's going to be big. That's going to be bureaucratic. That's another step forward. Probably the biggest thing is that I may have mentioned that we're curious and considering doing the homes out of with 3D printing. And I've gotten some quotes from some companies that do the 3D printed houses. Again, 3D printed house is a bit of a misnomer as they only print the walls. But guys, it is super affordable. It looks like it might be the technology of the future. Essentially, the kind of price in my mind of what I think a home should cost, basically the kind of sort of thinking about what it would cost to build a house that's nice, but not super expensive, but that's also not small. They basically hit that price point exactly the way where I think it could be that I think is going to work out really good. So I consider this a blessing. This is sort of in partnership with the machine building ministry of the Russian Federation, if that is the proper translation. Машиностроение. Well, hopefully it is. So that's kind of cool. It also is kind of nice that there's some sort of partnership with the government on that, because that means that there could be goodies. One thing is we might be able to save a little bit of money on, let's just say, some student labor for parts of the village. So I'm kind of excited about that. So anyways, it looks like 3D printing, at least for now, is probably going to be the way of the future of the village here. Someone asked if they could choose not to have a 3D home. Of course, if you want to come here and try to find your own contractor in the village and do things however you want, freedom is number one. So of course you can do that. But you might have to hire a translator or something. So I can only help you so much in that department. Okay. So that's kind of another bit of news about the villages. It looks like, in all likelihood, unless something radical and weird happens, the whole 3D thing is going to happen again. Not because it's trendy, but it's offering you're essentially getting a home made out of solid concrete, which is very good for Russia's climate. And trust me, you live in concrete versus living in other materials, and you know what's the best. So it's kind of like the best material, and it's almost the best price, and you can do it pretty fast, which is very good for our village because, not everyone's going to arrive at the same time. So it's kind of nice that you can actually, kind of build like one building at a time. They even said that actually the price they gave me was for building one building at a time. If we were actually able to get a few people to come simultaneously, roughly, and get started, the price could actually go down significantly, which would be an amazing price. So hopefully that'll happen, but that's not necessary. That's not mandatory. So anyways, guys, I guess I've said my piece here, more or less. If no one wants to talk, I don't know. I'll check the messages. Usually guys have some sort of questions about the war, about other stuff in Russia, random stuff, but it's looking like nothing. The only comments I see are about someone needing to get their sound card fixed. So I don't know. Yeah, sound cards were quite the thing. Remember back in the early 90s when you had to specifically buy a separate sound card? That was amazing. Irina, I can be a translator if needed. Oh, a lot of people can, Irina. That's very nice of you, but that's very far in the future. And again, that's something that's for them, because again, if someone wants to go on their own and build their own house under their own terms without my butt being involved, that's fine. But then maybe Irina can help you for free or for a reasonable fee. So anyways, Jeremiah is here. Jeremiah, you are on the program, and it's nice to speak to you. I always like to take some calls because then people don't believe me that there's like 25 or 30 people listening. They don't believe me in the YouTube comments. Jeremiah, hello. Hello, Jeremiah.
Sorry, Tim. I was talking, but I had to hit a button. Thanks for having me. It's been a long time no talk.
No problem.
Very busy guy the last few months. So anyway, can you be a little more specific on what you were thinking for price and size of these houses for the
Okay, well, how about this? All right, well, about price and size again, because all right. So first, don't go anywhere. We'll have you. Well, I'll unmute you very soon. Again, I'm not muting you because you're a bad person. It's because I cannot stand the background noises when I'm trying to read something. So if I could find, through the magic of Telegram, if I can find a certain conversation, then I can probably, what's that stuff that I sent? That stuff I should have done today, but I didn't do. Bad, Tim. Bad. So it's looking like, from what one company said, they could do a 100 square meter house. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to put together 2 to 3 different sizes of houses. So essentially, because, one of the things about making something cheap is about making it with, uniform parts. Okay. And so, we're probably going to need a real architect, but I sort of drew up based on real architectural plans of some houses that I liked. I drew up essentially what I think would be a sort of ideal plan, for one of these homes, essentially like a 100 square meter home, which is a pretty good generic size for maybe like, husband, wife, 3 kids, and then the 150 square meter home, which for Russia generally means you have like 5, 6 kids. And obviously, for some people who in the future might want to, or even in the present, if they have something where they have a crazy amount of kids, like 10, well, then maybe we could come up with some sort of custom option. But essentially, I kind of drew out an architectural plan for 100 and 150 square meters. This kind of good standard sizes there. No stairs, so one floor. Printing in 3D is always easier to do one floor, especially because the people who do it in Russia really haven't come up with, I'll put it this way, I don't want them to experiment on us when it comes to building 2-story buildings out of 3D. But anyways, they basically said that it looks like the house might come in at about the 4 million ruble range for 100 square meters. And that's sort of, a house that's on the finished side. So essentially where you can walk in the door and, you can live there. So that's kind of the way I gathered that. Let me real quick try to find something else here. Good old copy pasta I need to do here. Hold on. So yeah. Okay. So yes, that's about 4 million. It's probably going to wind up though. He didn't quite make it clear. It's probably going to wind up being another 500,000 to put the water in, as in get the actual drilling and all that. But I don't know, 4.5, 5 million rubles, something like that. But that's actually a very, very good price for a house that's going to be made out of concrete. That's 100 square meters. That is an amazing price. That is exactly what I would feel comfortable paying. I really don't think that things could get much better than that. People are trying to write me over VK. Stop it. But anyways, let me bring Jeremiah back on the program. So Jeremiah, did that answer questions at all? But again, that's a sort of rough estimate that they shot out based on the architectural plans that I drew, not a real architect. Hello, Jeremiah. Click that fat button. There we go.
Sorry about that, Tim. I didn't hit the button again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got that as 100 square meters equals 1,076 square feet and 5 million.
Wait. Hold on. I think something might be off there about your square footage. Hold on. Let's ask our darling here. Let's go with 100 square meters to square feet. I guess it is 1,076. Yeah, something like that. That's pretty good. So that's for your smaller sized house. Your larger sized house would be 1,614.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no sounds small to me, but anyway. Yeah,
well, man, one thing is if you maybe we can talk to them and see. But I'll put it this way: if you got the money, then maybe we could talk to these people to make them bigger. But then I'll put it this way: as someone who's lived here through the winter, do you really want to heat 250 square meters and heat that? How many kids do you have?
0.
Oh, dude. Are you married?
Nope.
Then what do you need 200 square meters just for yourself? I don't know.
Sounds good to me.
Oh, dude, I don't know, man. But that's the one thing. In Russia, you don't need any stupid permits or anything to really put an extension on your house. That's something that I think you could unite the first house with the second house later. But I guess if you're coming to Russia with big bucks and you've got the big money and you really want to have a Titanic house, of course you can have a Titanic house. The absolute maximum size of a house you can have based on the zoning is 5,380 square feet. That's 500 square meters. That's the absolute biggest house that you could build based on the zoning. Why anyone would want to ever build that, I don't know, because that is a nightmare house. It's so big you can't maintain it, and there's going to be all sorts of problems with it. But that's the biggest there. So, anyways, man, yeah. I don't know. I think 100 square feet is awesome. I've been living with 40 square feet for a long time, and when you're by yourself, it's a lot of space. But anyways, dude, any other questions?
Yeah, I do. So I've been super busy, and I haven't been 100% up to date on all the updates with the immigration issues and this and that and the timing as far as when we would be there ideally and
no problem. All right, fantastic. Let me mute you there, and I'll tell you, no problem. So, I think in the last live stream or the live stream before that, basically somewhere it's going to take until the end of this year to do all the BS and junk related to the land. So about around New Year's, somewhere around there, of course after New Year's, so no one's going to do anything during New Year's, but after New Year's, that's when it actually seems to be, according to what I was promised, a heavy emphasis on the word promised, that's essentially sort of that spring of 2024 is when we can actually kind of like really get started on stuff, and we'll be able to actually start building and all this. But the official opening date is going to be the 4th of July of 2024, where we should already have ground broken for sure, some kind of buildings there for sure, electricity for sure, based on the timetable I was given. So if we talk about the immigration thing, for those people who've submitted their passports, who are sort of ready to go in that 6 to 12 month period, they're already putting together the big bureaucratic super document in order to get 100 to 200 people-ish or more. Guys, we have a lot of people on the waiting list. So about the actual timing of that, I'm not sure. Because, of course, we could this is one thing that I always because in a lot of ways I'm a Russian advocate, but I'm never a Russian advocate for the way bureaucracy works, and especially the immigration bureaucracy. So I always kind of feel like I'm cheerleading for something that doesn't deserve to be cheer-led. But the thing is that like with in a way, it's kind of gracious that the government is giving us the chance to let maybe over 100 people to 200 people or whatever it's going to be from the West actually just immigrate here without going through all the million hurdles they've put up. So in one way, it's gracious. But on the other hand, these bureaucrats don't give a shit about you, and they don't give a shit about your timetable or what's going on in your life. And their attitude is always, like in most things in Russia, is it'll get done when I get it done. And so about when they say, yes, Billy, Jim, Bob, or Jeremiah, we took a look at your passport. We have some questions. Could you send us, we need to see this, that, and the other, document from you. Or whatever, whatever phase 2 is going to look like. Again, this is the first time they've ever done this, so we're not quite sure what phase 2 is going to look like. But whatever phase 2 is going to look like, who knows when that's going to be and under what circumstances. They just were like, yes, it'll time up with the village and everything will be fine. In fact, it should happen. Everyone should get their ability to immigrate to Russia before the village starts, supposedly. But again, this kind of depends on the political will. This kind of depends on these people who work at the migration services, because normally when you say go and you are married to a Russian woman, you get married, you go and you submit your documents for temporary residency. In the past, it was definitely 6 months, and I think it's now 4 months, I don't know, of the processing time. But it was a very concrete thing because it was very much part of the law. It was very specific, and you get this little sort of receipt that says on this day you submitted your documents. So at the very last, you should come like the very last day where the documents could possibly not be ready is this day. And you should come at that day or maybe a little bit earlier to see if they're ready. That's not going to happen because we are outside the realm of like the established system. So everything's going to be a pain in the butt. So yeah, sorry, man. I knew it was Jeremiah. If that was a terrible answer to your question, raise your hand again and I'll let you come back on. But for now, we're talking to Chantel. Chantel! And someone else raised their hand, but they vanished out of existence. Okay, we'll get to this person later, but Chantel, you're on. You have to click the microphone, your microphone symbol in order to talk. Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
How are you?
Hi. Good. Nice to talk to you.
Good to hear you as well, Tim.
Sure.
Couple questions. First, so we're a family of 5, obviously, and you probably already know that, but you also mentioned that we could do like a storefront, and I mentioned that I might want to do like a cafe when I get there. So keeping that in mind, when we get the property, we're going to have to do both. So how are you going to handle that situation?
Why do you, well, first off, hold on. Why you have to do both simultaneously? Well, don't you have to also understand that with the cafe part, is it actually going to be, would you want it to be physically part of your home?
I don't know if we're going to, I'm working on I've already got a design for a home, but now that you've said, I watched one of your videos and you had mentioned that you can, basically put your storefront on your property. So putting the house behind it, and then we do want to have some like chickens and stuff like that in a garden.
Yeah.
Then we also want to do a cafe out front. So there's like a lot going on there. I mean, we probably only would need like, I don't know, an acre at most. So are you going to be able to?
Acres aren't available. Well, here's another thing. Why would you need an acre?
Well, we're hoping to do a house design, probably 1,500-ish square feet.
Okay.
We want 4 bedrooms if possible, because we're 3, teenage sons, basically, and ourselves. So we're gonna want like 4 bedrooms and kind of a common area to make one of those big hot stoves, and the design I have laying out.
All right. Well, the thing is, so how much money do you have in the bank right now, roughly? Like, you don't have to say the specific number, but are you doing like, do you actually have that amount of money to buy like a small house in the United States?
Yeah, we're actually selling a small house and 2 businesses here. We're hoping to come with at least $50,000 to $60,000.
All right.
And want to buy
$60,000. Well, yeah. If you're gonna do stick frame, you can do that. You could get something like that. But then you might want to factor in, if you want to do a stick frame house and you want to do this sort of all at once, you kind of need to then plan it. Plan it so that way there's a part that kind of there's a few ways you could do this. Hold on. Temporarily muting you, not because you're a bad person, because I can't deal with background noises. So basically, remember in the Old West, a lot of little towns, I should say cities, little towns across the United States as the West grew. There were these sort of main streets, and a lot of times you'd have sort of like the store on the first floor, and then the people lived above it. Now, I don't know if that's the most comfortable setup in the world for 21st century people compared to 19th century people, but that's a pretty legitimate way to save space and sort of have like separate business zone and separate family zone. That's one option you could think about. But then again, that kind of turns the second floor to more like an apartment rather than a home. So again, one thing that I would say is I've been envisioning since the beginning of this is to really then have like you build your house. So your house is like, oh boy, I don't have good objects for this. I don't know. We could take this box from a telephone here. So we have this object here. So this is like a house that's a rectangle. Well, if the street is over here, so here's the street. If you kind of just made it a bigger, extended the rectangle this way, you could really put a small cafe here that could, of course, take the water, take the electricity from the house, and yet be maybe separated by a nice thick wall. Because obviously you don't want to, if you, are going to do this, your kid's going to be doing homework, or there might be times where you're just like, I don't want to hear anyone, because some people really like to talk loudly. So you probably want to have like a double thick wall here with maybe like one door that's actually like an exterior door, even though it's on the inside of the house. So that way there's a little bit of soundproofing there, and build it so that way there's street access. And and then you can kind of experiment, because remember, we sort of have a little bit of a closed off community here. There are, of course, standards for selling food within Russia. And all that, but they're not too bad. But the thing is, when it's an internal thing within our little community, which is going to be legally essentially a gated community, there's not really anything they can do about it. Because as long as you're selling to people within the confines of the gated community, it's no problem, baby. So we don't have to worry about that unless we really start to have a lot of Russian tourists who want to learn English or see the village or something. Then if it becomes a tourist site, we might have to go through the legality of actually kind of turning it into like an official cafe. But don't worry, there are some really poor, schmucky, dumb individuals who've been able to open like micro cafes and stuff. Trust me, it is not. It is definitely not the most difficult thing, especially when you own the land that it's on and you own the house that it's on or connected to or whatever. And of course, another option you could do is you could do it as a separate building. Why I would recommend against that, because as our forefathers understood in the Old West, if you have a work building and house building, then they're completely separated. You've got to heat both of them. And that's really going to pump up your bills. Whereas if they're sort of in one mass, even if they have a really thick dividing wall, that heat is going to kind of circulate between them, and that is going to be for your heating and effort and all that. So anyways, let me get Chantel back on. So Chantel, did that actually answer your question, or was that a complete failure? Hello.
Okay, got it. Sorry about that. You there?
Yes. Yes. So did that actually answer anything?
Yes, it does help. I had a couple other questions, but I just got interrupted while you were talking, so I lost my train of thought.
That's
but I will
okay.
get back to you.
One of the main
Appreciate
things is while you're then, if you want to build this yourself and you're gonna whatever mechanism you want to build it, I'll just tell you what, that if you a house of that size, you pretty much have to do stick frame. And one of the things you really need to look for is if you were to look around at different websites for people to do construction, the thickness, it has to be 2x8s. In America, we build with 2x4s. In Russia, they have to be 2x8, so which is written as 200 millimeters. Okay, so if something isn't a 2x8 or 200 millimeters, that means it is not a winter home. So that's something you should take a look at.
So, what, the biggest house that the 3D printed can only do?
No, not 3D printed. No. You said you want to have your own custom design and do your own thing. I'm talking about stick frame. I'm talking about how they make houses in the American Midwest, where every 16 inches they put a piece of wood, in this big set of like wooden ribs that they raise up.
Oh, well, I was watching some 3D printing homes here.
Yeah.
And you can basically design it, give them your design, and then they'll program it in. I don't know if the Russian 3D companies.
Well, here's the thing. Why would I not recommend that? Because if you're doing your own custom design, what does that mean? First off, you have to hire an architect, okay? And the cost of an architect who's actually good is 1,000 rubles per square foot. So if you want 150, so if you want 150,000 square meters of a home, which is 1,500 square feet, and then you're going to put the cafe on it, which is probably going to add up to maybe something like 200. You're essentially blowing 200,000 rubles just for the architectural plan. Okay, so that's number one. Then number two, they're going to be able to come in and do the walls real quick. But if everything is custom, and like the custom windows, how long are those going to take, and how much are those going to cost? Because in Russia they have some really nice sort of stock kind of window sizes and all that, triple pane PVC windows. And if you choose to do something that's more dramatic and open, and maybe there's triangular windows, that cost is just going to go. And a lot of the benefits of 3D printing, like the speed of it, are going to be lost with a custom design. You see what I mean? So it's kind of also something you have to consider, where your costs are going to go way up, rather than doing some kind of like stock design, where every home has the same two sizes of windows. Every home takes the same, essentially, kind of pipes in the same positions, this, that, and the other. So I'm not saying you can't do 3D print that way. You can, but the cost is going to go up.
Right. Well,
so
we still use just the regular standard windows, I think, but yeah, I kind of had some more curvy appeal, or maybe even those igloo style homes. I don't know if you've seen videos on those.
People make those, but I guess sometimes they do 3D print them. But there's another thing about the igloo style homes, is they use space really inefficiently, because you essentially create that, like, if you're do I have anything that's like a semicircle here? Wouldn't it be wonderful if I did? Oh, I guess I guess we could take this weird lid to this jar here. So we have to get rid of half the lid. So you kind of have to imagine that you have this circle here. Well, if this was a square building, you could stand anywhere on this territory. So if this is 10 meters, you could use all 10 meters. But when it's a circle, you get to where there's like a dead meter and a half here and a dead meter, and ultimately you're paying for 10 meters, but you're really getting like 7 or 6. No. You know what I mean? You lose a lot of space with that, and then everything also kind of becomes somewhat non-standard. I don't know if that's really the way to go there, but who knows? There are companies in Russia that do specifically make geodesic dome houses. They exist. I've seen them. So they're here. But I've seen them really, for the most part, made out of wood. So,
What about those foam concrete blocks? Do they have that construction there in Russia?
Yeah.
So we could do that as well. Okay.
Yeah. There's the foam concrete. There's like cinder block and all that stuff. But of course, with one thing that I was sort of dissuaded from, I thought we were going to do cinder block for this village. It's definitely more expensive than 3D printing, and it's kind of slow because you kind of have to do it one block at a time. So, again, it depends sort of on your time frame, but block is awesome. Block is a great technology. It's all the houses that are made from it are really nice generally. So, great technology. So,
well, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Or are we going to get on? Yep. Hello?
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's helpful. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate what you're doing for us.
You should what? Sorry?
I appreciate what you're doing for all of us.
Oh, well, hope the main thing is I'm going to mute you now, but save those thoughts for when we actually succeed here. This is one of those things where I know I need to wake up early tomorrow, but I'm not going to sleep at all. It's because we are so close to this happening. We are so close to getting that first wave of people to get approved, to get their residency, and to start the process of taking over the land and changing the zoning of it. It's so close. So close. So I'm just terrified that something is going to happen. V2 Evolution wants to talk. Hello, V2. Another person did have their hand raised, but V2 jumped in. So hello, V2. I think you mean, are you talking about a 2-cylinder engine, V2 Evolution?
Indeed, the Harley Evos.
Ooh,
Tim,
I see.
Привет, я хотел тебе сказать, у тебя очень хороший русский язык.
Стараюсь.
I saw you on TV. Awesome. Let's see, Tim, what the heck did I want to ask? So if I were to do the immigration stuff on my own, due to being a USSR, roots extract, would it be possible to participate in the project, or would I need to have a particular, like, let's say, VNG status already in the bag, or can I still be a foreigner?
Well, see, the problem is according to sort of the project documents, kind of have to be a native speaker. And I can hear that you have an accent and you were born in the Soviet Union. And why are people like that sort of excluded from the project? Because if you were born in the Soviet Union, okay, you have the right to come back here and immigrate without needing to be in this migration quota. So like the whole, again, with this project is like sort of a little bit of a hype project to show that there's this type of person who has been invisibly to the government's own eyes, basically excluded from life in Russia. But dude, if you have your Soviet passport, or maybe even, I actually know someone who somehow, I cannot believe it, got in here on just a Soviet birth certificate without the passport. You can just live here. You can just come here and apply for temporary residency. There's no quota for you. You already have the ticket.
Yeah, the passports had all been confiscated when, we were leaving the USSR and heading to the West. So, but yeah, birth certificates are around. Mm-hmm.
You have a Soviet birth certificate.
Yep.
Oh, well, then that could be good enough. In fact, you've probably heard, if you've been following this channel for a long time, then you need to probably talk to and potentially have to pay our good friend Timur, the immigration lawyer, because literally I know someone who got on here, got to Russia with just the birth certificate. So Timur can probably make it happen for you. So you should really get in contact with him. If you need Timur's contact information, I'm going to mute you now, not because you're a bad Oh, do you have another question? Another one?
Let's see. No,
okay.
Go ahead, Tim.
So
I
the mute begins. Anyways, so I will, if you contact me outside of this, send me a private message. I can give you Timur's contact, and you can start to work with him about this process of moving here. One thing, guys, a few people have been like, but Timur doesn't answer me. Well, two of his buddies in his partnership of his law firm got drafted. So Timur is really down to being an almost one-man crew with like one secretary, and he has hundreds of case files to deal with. So yeah, you have to forgive him. So remember, like in everything in Russia, you have to be aggressive. You have to take what you want. Timur wants to help you, but you can't passively wait for him to lift you up and save you. Someone else had their hand raised. Was it another one? Were you the person who wanted to talk? Another one who also has a paid Telegram account, which I respect. Did you want to say something or something? No? Anyways, well, let me check the chat there and see if we have any questions. And if not, I guess I'm going to vanish. Another one, if you change your mind, you can jump on in and ask a question. Where is the chat? This is hard to do when your mind is occupied. Oh, it's at the very top, of course. Why wouldn't it be? You doubted me, Tim? No, sir. I never doubt you. Sorry, late fixing my brakes, dude. You don't have to be on time. Remember, that's why we put these up on YouTube, Rumble, and BitChute when it works. Maybe one thing to know about Russia: sometimes BitChute works really well, and sometimes it won't load at all. It's mysterious. I've been told that that's sort of a phenomenon that only happens in Russia. So I don't understand it. So for anyone who prefers to watch my videos on BitChute, that's why they come out in batches of 5, because sometimes when it works, I upload everything, baby. Love the idea of a business on the first floor and living space on the second floor, says Peter. Yeah, dude, that's one of the things with this village is one of the commercial sides is, again, like we're getting the advantage of coming to Russia because of a lot of the freedom that Russia has. But one of the things about American culture, especially the American culture of the 1900s, was that it was kind of neat, like the old American small towns, as an Ohioan. It's hard to remember. Oh, boy. Let's get out Google Maps. I can't remember what anything's called anymore. I haven't lived there in a long time. Maps.google.com. If you go, let's go across the ocean with the Google Maps. I'm not going to put the map on the screen. I think you guys probably know. Well, maybe I will, but I need to find it first. Let's try to find some really small places in, like, northeastern Ohio. Oh, about Austinburg, maybe Austin. Oh, yeah, this is perfect. Is there a street map of it? Where's the street map button? So we've got the guy. Oh, my gosh, there's a street map button. So, like, yeah, I'll put this, I will put this then over here on monitor number 2, because there's private information on monitor number 1 very often, baby. So anyways, let's see, how do I share the screen? Screen 2, go, rock and roll. So anyways, like, this is Austinburg, Ohio, and it is a place I've been to, and as you can see, these houses are pretty old, and like, look how there's this sort of approach. This, of course, because it's Ohio, this seems to be closed. But you see these people, they built this like approaching porch, and there's a place to sit outside. This kind of actually looks commercial to me. Maybe it's not, but it looks commercial. Obviously, expecting people to kind of eat outside in Russia, not reliable. But of course, what you can do is, I believe, from the street, you have 5 meters till your house starts. Well, since we're in a gated community, if you want to maybe take that 5 meters or whatever, put gravel on it and put like a bunch of these like chairs and stuff. Oh my gosh, that's the perfect summer veranda that you can get rid of in winter. You can just store those folding tables and chairs and stuff, and everyone's happy. Let's take another look around Austinburg, Ohio. Why is this blurred? Okay. This house has seen better days. Maybe let's see the front side of this building. Let's see. Yeah. That's the exact. Oopsies, not that. That's the exact kind of building I was talking about, where you have the business on the first floor, and on the second floor you had the living space. Unfortunately, that building has seen better days. But I really wanted to kind of bring the And here's one where you can see this building's obviously been extended. Because that's another thing. Remember, because in Russia, you don't really need 5 billion permits or really anything to just extend your house. You just kind of freaking do it. Another one, I see you have your hand raised. We'll get to you after I'm done talking about this. So this is another perfect example of the potential of Russia, whereas in America, doing this in the 21st century would be very hard. But anyways, look at this. How, in a lot of ways, some of these buildings I think were knocked down because I think there had to be something right there. In like the 1800s, there just had to. But essentially, when you're looking, you got this nice little, it's dense, but look at how much space there is. Look at how much green there is. And you got people, and it's like they live there, but they've got their little businesses there. This is kind of the kind of part of America that I actually want to bring to Russia. But anyways, that's basically the model of what we're doing. Our model, our Lenin of our Communist Party is Austinburg, Ohio, only not full of half-vacant buildings. Anyways, let's go back and stop sharing the screen. Stop. So I can talk to another one. Hello, another one. Do you have any questions or comments or other? Hello. Oh my God, there's some rap song called Another One. Oh, who did that? Whose song was that? Another One. Was that Rick Ross? Well, another one. Come on, hit the microphone icon and talk to me.
Hey, how are you, Tim?
Good.
Asking my question already got answered in the chat, but how far away from the American Village is there an international airport?
Oh, okay. Let's calculate that together. Well, the thing is, Moscow has 4 international airports. So no matter where you are around the Moscow region, one might be on the closer side, 1 or 2 might be on the closer side, and 1 or 2 might be really freaking far away. So let me get out my Yandex map there, baby. Let's see. And I don't know, maybe we could put this on the screen and we can do it together. And everything's done together. It's amazing. No, don't have to log out of Yandex. Hold on, I need to get a new browser. Yandex has too much personal information. Hold on, let's get another browser open. There's no personal information in it. Yeah. Let's go Yandex. And let's open the map together. And get the live stream back up here. So anyways, let's try to share the screen again. I don't know why this is so mentally difficult for me, this screen sharing thing. So anyways, we have to go to spelled it wrong. Podmoklava. And we're going to create a 2 airport. Domodedovo should be the closest airport. Actually, maybe it isn't. Domodedovo is, what does it say on the screen? No traffic. It's 1 hour and 20 minutes to Domodedovo from there. So yeah, that's 1 airport. Nope. We should
That's an
do this.
international airport, correct?
Oh yeah, there are no non-international airports around Moscow. So that's Domodedovo. Anyways, let me just type this in from the beginning. And the closest one then should be what's it called? Vnukovo. No, actually, Vnukovo is about as far, 1 hour and 27 minutes. That works out to be basically the same, although I would not drive that way. As you can see, there you could kind of go, this way is longer, but this way is so much nicer. This is a much, let's just say, traffic-free, full of trees and scenery way to go compared to this. This is a nightmare, especially during working hours. And the worst airport of the big 3, because there's one called Zhukovsky, which is also international, but it doesn't get used that much. So we have airport Sheremetyevo. Sheremetyevo is on a different planet. That is a 2-hour drive, and that is probably going to be a nightmare during daytime. That's going to be an absolute living nightmare of a drive, but depends how often you fly. So there you go. One of the things is that you can't really get a very pleasant, super nice suburban, or dare I say country lifestyle if you're going to live close to any of the major airports in Russia. Well, in the Moscow region anyways. There are some places where you can do that, but Moscow has the most flights of anywhere by far, way more than even St. Petersburg. So, any other questions?
Oh, not at all, Tim. I really appreciate what you're doing for us. Thank you.
Yeah, sure thing. My pleasure. Anyways, the mute goes on, and now I'm going to read the final comments of the chat, and then unless I see a hand raised, I'm getting the heck out of here because I got to wake up bright and early tomorrow. I should say dark and early, the Gothic way. That little live stream started always cheers me up. Thank you. Mic is not working. It can't be. You hear me? Me too. Sorry. How far? Yeah, we just talked about that. 60 miles. Oh, dude, there's a lot of airports. Can't just say 60 miles. Like that could be anywhere. Thank you all. I expect him to correct me. So about 45 to 50 kilometers. From what? Irita, you can't tell people that something is 50 kilometers away when you don't say where it's from. 1 hour by car from Sierpukhov. Well, that's already when you're inside of Sierpukhov because you actually have to drive to Sierpukhov. One thing, though, is to take it with a grain of salt. Yes, they're doing some construction on the bridge, so I bet the Yandex added some time. Oh, we have a hand raised. Max wants to talk. Hello, Max. I like your name so much, I gave it to my son. Hello, Max. Hello, Max. You have to unmute yourself or something. You still look muted to me. Max DeWinter. Max, you gotta click on some button there to allow yourself to speak if you want to talk to me. It should be at the bottom of your screen. If the little microphone icon there is blue, you click it and it should become green. One thing, though, I kind of understand they made it not red because red is like recording, but I kind of wish it was like just gray or something that really indicates not in use. Max, have you changed your mind? You're not going to talk to me. That is heartbreaking. So anyways, Max does not want to talk in particular. He changed his mind or he can't hit the button. Maybe his microphone is not attached if he's using like some kind of computer or something. Hi, Tim. How big are the home lots going to be? Probably 10 sotkas. So that's above 10 sotkas. A bit above 10 sotkas is sort of what worked out for the project based on sort of everyone's needs and achieving of making construction companies happy, making the government happy, making the migration authority. Oh, I think Max hit the button. Max, hello.
Hey, Tim.
Oh, there you are.
Okay. Yeah.
I hear you.
This is totally off topic.
Sure.
I was wondering, what's the status for going to Russia regarding vaccines?
There isn't one anymore. I believe they canceled that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Let's take a look. Hold on. Мождали. Let's see. Мое правило въезда в Россию. С октября, который ранее течение. Hold on. Если нужно рисовать способы въезда. Тест при въезде через сухопутную границу был отменен, а через морскую. So, that's what ранее 3 дней с момента въезда нужно было оставаться. Позже этого делать не нужно. Про въезд для иностранцев. Иностранным не нужно предъявить результат ПЦР-теста, несмотря на отмену ПЦР-теста. Могут выбрать. Ага. No.
No requirement.
No. What's this? No, nothing. Nothing. They got rid of all that.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, sure. Yep. So, anyways, Max is coming back. Max had something else to say. Hello, you wanted to say something else? You're free to. Or no? Yes, no, maybe? Anyways, you're unmuted. If you want to say something, you'll say it. But anyways, I want to kind of quick and go back to the chat. And if there's no more discussion, let's see. How big are the home lots? Yeah, I was going to say that's 10, over 10 sotkas. So let's safely say 10.5 sotkas is what? So 1 sotka is this. That's that. So let's just say 10 sotkas to be safe. That's 10,763 square feet. That's probably what it's going to work out to be, which is bigger than your average dacha, but definitely not big. And that's why the entire eastern side of the village is going to be open farmland for the most part. For people who want to experiment with farming and all that, you guys can work that out amongst yourselves and screw around with that. So, yeah. Irina's saying no vaccines. No, that's gone. I just wanted to confirm that because remember, guys, I can't really leave Russia anymore, so I forget. But, yeah, they say that this is all gone. This is over. So thankfully, and hopefully nothing like this will ever happen again. But we have to also be vigilant here within Russia and demand things from our politicians, and especially push people in the Ghost Duma and push hype and try to, if we can, become lobbyists to make sure that the people in power are never doing stuff like that ever again. So part of our responsibility when we come to Russia is to make sure that we keep the Overton window where it needs to be. And I guess that's going to be it for today because no one is in the chat anymore. Everything is all gone. And so I'm going to wind down. I'm going to break probably my alcohol-free streak because I do not want to sleep at all, and yet I really need to. So anyways, guys, I don't think there's going to be too much major news. It's going to be a big bureaucratic meeting tomorrow. And like I said, pray that everyone shows up to the meeting because if one person doesn't, this thing's going to get kicked. The can is going to get kicked down the road another 7 to 10 days. So anyways, guys, oh, wait, what was this a question from the audience? Oh, praying. Thank you. Anyways, have a nice evening. Live stream over. I'm out of here.